Let's
Hi,
do it.
everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And for those that are going to be listening to the replay, I'm Carol Pilkington. I'm a spiritual counselor and transformational counselor and teacher. And I work with people that are going through high anxiety, stress, and grief. And today I'm excited because we are going to be talking about Feng Shui basics and how to activate that energy to support you in your everyday life. And I'm going to hand it over to Joanna to introduce
I
herself.
want to know where the Mystic Mavens, would you, Joanna?
Feng Shui. I'm excited to hear Feng Shui. That's what I'm excited. Like learning Oriental medicine, I'm into the medicine part of it. But to know the energy that I create outside just by where you place something, I'm looking forward to understanding that a little deeper today. I'm Joanna, and my thing is energy. I love energy. So anything that's going to raise my vibration, raise my frequency, and help me and guide me through that next level, that challenge, and just keep me grounded and moving, I'm all for it. So this is moving us with the energy around us. I can't wait to hear what this is all about. Kathy?
Awesome. So I'm Kathy Basel. I'm one of the crazy 4 Mystic Mavens here. We're delighted to have you. And let's see, I'm the founder of the Vitality Code. And with that, I work with women around all things to bring vitality into their life. So I do play around with some Feng Shui, but not as deep as our master teacher tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it, because one of the first things when we're looking to make some kind of transformation in our lives, we want to set that vision. But boy, we oftentimes forget that step of how important the energy and our environment is as far as supporting us in that step. So Claudia, without further ado, tell us a little bit more.
Thank you, ladies, and welcome everyone to the Mystic Mavens show. I'm Claudia Rocafort. I am a life coach, an executive business coach, and a spiritual facilitator, which is the part about me that most people don't know, and that I'm thrilled to be here and share with you, because it really is something that has changed my life, and that I now use all of these tools that we're going to be sharing and talking about to support myself and to support clients. And Feng Shui is one of these arts that's been around for thousands of years. It's at least 3,000 years old, and it was invented or created, and it's an art and a science that was developed in China. And Feng and Shui mean actually wind and water, and it's precisely about the flow. These things, both wind and water, the Chinese culture believed that they would bring good fortune. So it's really interesting to look at how these things combine. Let's start taking a little peek at the specifics of Feng Shui. So let me share screen with you. I want you all to have a little bit of a visual, which always helps. At least I like visuals. And let's see, can I share? Are you ladies able to see what I'm sharing here, or not quite yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right, let me try this one more time. Forgive me, I usually have this down, but my computer has just been restored and actually erased. And soon we need to talk about these retrogrades, because Carol was telling me about the Mars retrograde in Gemini, which is my ascendant, and it has not been happy for me at all. So it looks like I may not be able to, for some reason, share screen right now. I should have ideally tested this sooner. In any case, if we can't show you, we can share it at some point.
Co-host? Are you the co-host?
Let's
It
see.
doesn't have to be.
Okay, then.
I have it in my settings that you should be able to just.
So maybe one of my beautiful maiden sisters can help me out and share their screen. And this way we can talk a little bit about it, and you can see the visuals, because it's actually really pretty cool to be able to see what the Bagua map looks like. Now, while I share and while the ladies help me set this up, I'm just going to tell you a little bit of things of how this came about. There are two different ways that the Bagua map can be used. And there's the way where you actually do it by orientation in compass and mathematics and calculations and all of these things. And there's the Western way, which is called the 3-door version. And the way that we use that is you stand facing the door wherever, whether it be the room, whether it be the home, and you can place and imagine the Bagua map, right? There's 9 sections in the Bagua map that represent every aspect of your life. And so what ends up happening with the Bagua map, here we go. Oh, thank you. Feng Shui basics and how to attract the supportive energy in your life. So this, of course, is the 4 of us. We've already introduced ourselves. Now, the Bagua map and these energy forces, right, of the elements in Feng Shui, these basics come from the ancient art that was, and here's the Bagua map, beautiful. So these 9 sections that I'm telling you about represent the different aspects of our lives from, let's imagine that you had the front door actually in the center of the home, right? That would be right by the career and work section. And so we're going to start with that section because as you enter a space, it represents this career. It's represented by water. So if you think about the ways that we want to create those foyers that are slightly open or that create that very welcoming feeling when we walk into our homes, we want to create flow. And Qi, which is the universal energy that Feng Shui heightens and looks to create with the space around us to support the vibration in our homes and support each aspect of our lives, right? Every one of these things can be heightened by different aspects. So for example, career, this little black square that we're looking at the bottom is represented by water. So imagine if you walked into a home and you had a running water fountain that brought in the flow of that money flow, of that career flowing in the way that you would like. Imagine we can heighten this area with the color black, right? So for example, maybe some beautiful black and white photography of inspirational aspects of your life. How can we use these elements to heighten that part of our home? Now, Feng Shui talks about decluttering, allowing the energy and the qi around you to have room to flow. So imagine the doorways, the windows, and the flow of energy through the spaces in your home, through the furniture. Where is there maybe a dark corner that you could put some light, little mood light, maybe coming from a little spotlight from the floor behind a plant, right? Or a way to create maybe a little reading corner with your favorite chair and a beautiful orchid. There's so many ways with very simple things that we can use to decorate our spaces in ways that are going to heighten how we feel and how our energy flows through them. So if you think about it, let's just to go back a step for a moment. Think about this little map of 9 squares that you're looking at right now, and imagine laying it in front of you, in front of the door from where you're entering. So for example, if the door to your home or to your room is in the sort of lower right quadrant, it would be entering through helpful people in travel. So it wouldn't be entering now through career. You would imagine that that furthermost entrance on the right is going to be entering through helpful people and to travel. So for example, that might be a great place to put a representation of the idols that you admire, whether it be a Buddha or whether it's something that represents wisdom for you, right? Or pictures of your favorite last vacation with family. The things that inspire that energy in that area of your home. Now, the corresponding colors for this are metals and metallic colors. So imagine this white and imagine the silvers, for example, or golds will also highlight this area. And as you can see, it's considered hard metal. So it's hardcore metal. And what you can see in these little squares, each one of these areas represents different elements and how the elements flow from one to the next in a supportive cycle. So for example, the element metal will hold water, right? The water will nurture, right, the wood. The wood will be able to feed the fire. And the fire, right, creates strength in the earth whereby the metal can grow and is developed. And so when we look at this bagua and we look at the flow of energies, if, for example, my home was missing kind of like the sort of southwest quadrant in the home, sometimes we have, you know, particularly when we live in apartment buildings, apartments are shaped in very specific ways, not necessarily square. And how do we bring an element maybe that might be missing in that, quote unquote, missing in that space of our home? So we would want to highlight those elements in the southwest quadrant of each room. So for example, if my southwest quadrant was missing in my apartment, which would be my knowledge and spirituality and personal growth, I would want to put things that represent with the color blue or that represent my spirituality in those areas in other southwest quadrants of other rooms in my home.
And how would you bring the number 8 into play there?
The number, oh, yes, absolutely. So 8 is also, for example, infinity. These numbers as they go, they represent, you know, what in the number 8, for example, 8 candles or something, a picture, or where you have 8 bamboos in a jar of water, right? And we repotentiate with those symbols. Now, we know when we do these things intentionally, what they mean for us, right? So by setting the intention, so for example, if I walked in through my career section and I put a little desk or I put a little table in that foyer of the house, let's say I have the ideal house and I can have a foyer as my career entrance, right? And I put a little table there. In my southwest corner of that table, maybe I'm going to use 8 bamboos that represent water. It'll be a water vase with the 8 bamboos that are considered lucky with the number 8. And as I place that there, I set the intention to support my spiritual growth. And then perhaps for me, it would be a Buddha. I would put a little Buddha next to it. And so when I pass by that section, I am inspired to remember that that is supporting my spiritual growth.
I love that.
Is this making sense?
Yeah.
All right, beautiful.
And I can see that my kitchen is in that corner and the body is saying weight problems.
Well,
I should move my kitchen.
you know, if you can't move the kitchen, which sometimes is usually, well, actually, let's put it this way. Most of the time, it's usually the case, right? Unless we can build our home from scratch or we can pick that perfect and carry our bagua with us when we go house shopping or, you know, it makes it a little hard to do. So there's ways to correct the energy in every single space. What you want is highlight what that space, how we can create the energy that we want most to support that space, right? So by having a basic knowledge of Feng Shui and looking at, okay, what does each bagua represent? And what does each bagua have elements for? What color is it? What colors can I highlight this part of the bagua? Or what elements or what number, right? Then I can highlight that part that I'd like to strengthen. And I basically, what I do every time that I move to a new home, I'll basically walk through the home and kind of imagine, I'll try to get a floor plan. If not, I'll kind of draw one very roughly myself. And I'll impose these little 9 grid squares so that I can determine, oh, wow, okay, so now love is in the master bedroom. That's great. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the bathroom, right? I don't want to go in down the toilet. So how do I support that? Right? How do I support that energy? So maybe in that bathroom, I put 2 beautiful red candles that create a pair that always remind me of that partnership or of that love romance that we equate with pink or with red, right? Maybe I put there in the bathroom a beautiful picture of my partner and I, or of my ideal wishful partner and I. So these are just all kinds of different ways that we can highlight. And so, for example, if that area is missing, you want to make sure that you highlight then that area in the other rooms. So,
Okay. I have
yeah,
a question. So,
please, Joanna, tell me.
okay, so it's not necessarily just enter that part of the house, like that doesn't have to be the layout, but what we can bring this energy to every room.
Exactly. So
Okay,
that's the key. Once
Right.
you understand that this bagua, basically you can impose it on the entire home, right? You sort of overlay it over the entire home and you can understand which corners or which aspects of your home are equivalent to which energies and to which aspects of your life. Now, that applies to the entire home, but then you can do the same thing for each room.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you're missing the love and marriage and relationship area in your home, which happens to be the case in this apartment, I want to highlight, right, that upper right corner in every room in the house. And that's where I'll put my 2
Right.
candles, for example. This happens to be earth and square. So maybe that's where I would put a square bowl with a beautiful plant and a couple maybe miniature roses or different things in pink, red, white that would support that area. The element is also earth. So it'll be supported by plants, flowers, any kind of
Yeah, I've got some pine cones. I've got an old fireplace there that I haven't given a lot of TLC to lately. So it's probably got some stagnant energy that I could go in there and move some things around. I could probably put some wood in the fireplace and put some candles, like you're saying, maybe it's 2 candles up front. But
oh, but that I got
That's
goosebumps just hearing it because that would be beautiful and I would immediately change the chi and bring that energy. Like you said something so powerful, Kathy, stagnant energy.
yeah.
So this is what ends up happening when one of the big principles that we want to do is start decluttering. Think about any corner of your home that you haven't touched or opened or used in a while. The chi's not flowing the same way. And it creates stagnant energy, stagnant pockets of energy. So we want to give these spring cleanings and these autumn cleanings and these cleanings before the holidays. Like I try to do a big one at least once a quarter. And I try to at least once a year clean out closets. Look at anything that's broken or that no longer supports me. I'm serious. I mean, we carry all this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but boy, my family has carried stuff around for a long time. All the evidence, right?
Well, and for me, like when I'm I collect information, so I've got like stacks of papers, and so I can look. It's right in my prosperity corner. I've got 2. So I'm neat about all my stacks. So I put them in boxes. Now I got boxes of these stacks of paper sitting in my prosperity corner. Like, hello.
Yeah.
I need to open up the
And
cheat
books, like-
prosperity corner.
Yeah.
The
So
books that I haven't read are stacked right in that corner.
Interesting. So let
And
me
that's
ask you, Kathy. So let's work a little bit on the feng shui of that.
Yeah.
Would it be possible for you to bring those books maybe into an area that would be more than knowledge or personal growth? Or even if they're in the same room, could you bring those to maybe the southwest corner of the room
That's a good idea.
and
I could
potentiate?
get a bookshelf and like on the wall and put the books up there and make an arrangement out of it and put something with 8. Mhm, mhm.
Yeah,
Right. Okay. With the 8 bamboos or the 8, whatever that
exactly.
opens up
Eight,
your
eight,
energy.
8 crystals.
Right. Like that's what I was gonna say. Whatever opens your energy. So for me, it would be crystals probably. Because
Yeah. So what are some of your favorite crystals, Joanna, for example?
well, for blue, it would be lapis lazuli. I would use something like that. And that's because I'm also always working on my throat chakra. So to open that up and to clear the energy and to let the chi flow. And
Mhm.
when you're walking into a new truth or to your truth,
Yeah.
sometimes that energy can get blocked as well. So I love lapis lazuli for that. For the yellow, it will probably be citrine I would use, because citrine really flows and opens up prosperity and so many other avenues and energy fields. And that's also working with the ego, that chakra. So that's a good one to flow the energy of the body as well. So y'all know I like the body. When I look at this is what I learned in Chinese medicine,
Mhm.
is the 5 elements. So we relate everything to the 5 elements.
Mhm.
So it's the same exact thing.
It is.
So it's just
Exactly.
relating it now, instead of for me to the body, it's now relating it to my home.
Yep.
In every place that you dwell. And it makes so much sense because you control the environment around you, which also controls the environment within you. So I am loving this. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
And I love something you just said. You know, what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Is everything around us affecting us, or are we affecting everything around us? And where does that cycle combine? Because ultimately we are co-creating all of our reality. And in that measure, we have this capacity to create energy that supports us everywhere we go, anywhere we work, in our office, whether it's a little desk, whether it's a big mansion, it doesn't matter, right? We can bring a little violet plant with us and put it on the far left corner. And that violet with the round leaves represents money and abundance. And so that violet, which has the purple, will bring that money flow. And just looking at that little violet plant, or remembering, or that jade plant with beautiful round flowers, starts to shift our energy, which then shifts how we react to the world around us. So it starts feeding on
I
each
have
other.
a question.
Yes, Carol.
It's my little Virgo at work here.
Yes, please.
How
I
come?
didn't know you were a Virgo. Yes, you
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Oh, they're very particular Virgos. I love it. That's
You're gonna love this. How come all the outer corners, the 4 corners, don't have creative cycle, destructive cycle? It's all the inner boxes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So they all, think about it this way. As long as you go clockwise here in the Bagua, it's all creative cycle. Every single one of them leads to the creative cycle of the next one. What you want to avoid is going backwards, counterclockwise. So for example, if we look at the power and abundance corner on the upper
Mhm.
left, right? That element, which is soft wood, is going to be constructive to fire. Why? Because wood creates fire. But if I did the other way, right, and I did water, the water is going to put out the fire, the counterclockwise. So as long as we're moving from the elements in the constructive cycle, right, wood is going to support fire. Fire is going to support earth. Earth is going to support metal. Metal is going to support
it should be water.
water. Exactly. and
Right.
water is going to support
Wood.
wood.
Right. So can I just, so how we learn it in the 5 elements, Carol? So the destructive and the creative cycle can only come from the natural elements. So like everything else is like softwood. It's different versions of the same natural element, but there are only 5 elements. And that's why those 5 elements are either creating or destructing. And us in the body, like we call it the creative, the generating cycle. So we're either generating or being torn down. So that's why only those 5 elements can create and destroy, basically. So that's why you have a creative and destructive cycle. All the other elements are like soft metal. It's not real metal. It's a replica of the real elements.
Got it.
And I see now what you were saying, Carol, in terms of the positioning. It's the 4 corners that happen to not say anything about the destructive cycle.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, those are the core elements. And then the in-betweens tend to show you a little bit of what element transitions into another possibly. So it voices the destructive cycle so that it shows you basically don't go counterclockwise. So if you think about which element supports the other, for example, I always think wood supports fire. It creates fire, whereas water is going to shut it off, right? So that's how you know whether you're in the positive and the constructive cycle or in the negative and destructive cycle. And it's positive and negative. What we say, there's no, it's not good and bad, but it is. Sometimes you want to destroy things, and that can be just as creative, but we want to hear in this particular principle support the energies that we want to enliven and create more chi towards. So I wanted to hear from you ladies. Have you ever used Feng Shui before? And if so, how? And if you haven't, I want to hear what you think a little bit about all of this.
I had my apartment feng shuied once, and I have to be honest with you. I didn't really feel any difference. And maybe I didn't have the right things in the right places all the time, but it didn't seem to make a difference to me.
It didn't. Okay.
I just, what do they do when they feng shui your apartment?
Exactly. Good question.
Well, I had a professional feng shui person. Some of you know her. So I won't mention her name. She's been doing it for over 30 years. But she basically went around and surveyed my place and told me what was what. This was many years ago, so I don't exactly remember what she said, but she described things pretty much in the same way that Claudia was, and told me where I needed to put certain things to bring out the energies of that particular element. So
Oh, okay.
I think what's interesting with this, as with most other tools, right? Not every tool is for everyone, 1. 2, it really, I think, helps when you're aligned with it, meaning when you understand it a little bit more, and those things, those choices that you make create an intention for you, I think that's when you start to really feel a difference in the energy. Now, the other thing is, you've worked a lot on energy, Carol. So you might not have needed very much tweaking in your home.
possibly, yeah.
It's very possible that some of these things just made the energy flow a little bit more, but there were no real blockages. So you didn't feel any major transitions because there were no real blockages, right? Yeah, these were all possibilities.
And
Go ahead.
what I want to add is, because sometimes the energy blocks also come when you live with other people.
Yeah.
So you need the energy to be raised a lot more. So setting up the house where energy can just flow because you live with another person. Because I'm realizing like that's huge. Like you don't realize where you're holding energy, and sometimes it's in the house.
I love that. That's brilliant, Tawana.
That makes
Because
total
when you
sense.
have your own home and it's just you, there's no confrontation. There's no rubbing, there's no compromising. I want the chair here and you want it there.
What do you mean a red chair? It's got to be green.
You know, so you want a yucca plant and they want a prickly pear. Who knows? Those things also create energy and will affect the flow of energy. So it's ideal to find, when you're sharing, obviously, a home, do it with your partner. Create the spaces with your partner that highlight the things that you love, that maybe we have these stereotypes that men don't get as into the decor maybe as the woman. Well, not necessarily true, one. And two, why not pick and choose elements together, pictures together that signify something important to you, that bring out the best memories. The junk that's time to move on, thank it, bless it. It'll be new for somebody else. Think about that. And not everything is supporting you the way that it used to. So things like old clocks, get them working. If they're stagnant, they're stagnating your time.
Wow.
Yeah. Or even something as little as dusting. So this morning, I've kind of been under the weather with COVID, and I recognized I was spending a lot of time on my couch, and that's in that corner as well. And I moved my couch and swept under there because there was a lot more dust under there than I realized. So in order to get the energy flowing again, I dusted. So, but just moving a couple little items, like you're saying, even if they are in the right colors or combinations and things like that, just putting something fresh in there, like maybe a fresh flower in that corner, is enough to bring attention and bring flow and bring openness again. One of the things that I like to do, I do little fun things throughout the year for my clients. And one of the things we'll do in spring is I call it the Feng Shui challenge, but for 9 days, it's releasing 27 items. And there's significance around the numbers 27 and the 9, which is all about completions and creations kind of a thing. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating how much stuff we hold on to and the significance that we put to it. But again, it's all about releasing, and because when we release, it makes space for the new to flow in, and it's pretty fascinating.
And I love what you just said. By releasing, by creating a little empty space, you're allowing new to come into your world, abundance to come into your world. So think about the amount of stuff that we hold on to that a charity could use, that a shelter could use, that maybe you haven't used or opened in a year. Can that bring life and support someone else? It'll come back to you threefold.
Yeah, I love how Marie Kondo, she's the Japanese woman who talks about the decluttering, but she's got basically you lay everything out, and if it doesn't serve you, if it doesn't bring you joy, release it. But you take the item and you hold it and you thank it for the time that you've been together, and you send it off with well wishes that you're going on to bless the next person. And it's so wonderful when you think of releasing all that stuff. I think sometimes we hang on to stuff because we're misidentifying holding on to the stuff as certainty and stability, and we actually, it stagnates the flow, and so to bless it and allow it to go on, it makes it easier for us to let it go, but it also opens up the way for something new.
Wow. And that's every area of our lives.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, people.
Attachment is not friendly, is not happy, it doesn't make us happy. Good for a minute or two, but overall, attachment can cause us a lot of grief.
Especially because it can create a heaviness
Mhm.
also, right? It creates a dependency to some degree to things versus the freedom. I have this beautiful, I think I've mentioned this once before, but I have this beautiful little reminder when I brush my teeth in the morning and there's a butterfly tied by a string to a rock. And it
Mm.
says, let go. And it reminds me constantly to let go of anything that no longer serves me, whether that's a thought, whether it's a belief, whether it's an energy, whether it's a thing in my space, whether it's a piece of paper. If I can scan it and put it in my computer and throw it away, even better. So can you do that? Can you walk around your home, every space that you use, and do that for yourself and do that for your family, right? Ask your family members, what in this space that we share brings you joy? What bothers you? What feels off? Does it need a cleansing, a good smudging? Does it need a new home?
Yeah, I've downsized twice. And I had the first time I downsized, I had an organizer come in, and she was shocked and amazed at the ability that I had to just say, okay, get
Let it
rid of
go.
that, get rid of that, get rid of that. I just needed somebody there to help me work through it all.
Yeah.
And so the attachment part is really, really significant, learning not to attach to things. And when we can do it to things, we can do it with people,
Mhm.
not be attached to people,
Yeah.
because that gives not only the person freedom
Mm.
to be, but we are free to be.
Yeah. That was a
Yeah.
hard lesson for me.
Mm.
And how it came was not just I learned it. It came with my house catching on fire and losing everything in the house. So when it's time to let things go and you don't, it's like, let that shit go.
Yeah,
And
the universe will
the universe is saying, you're not listening, let it go. And that's how I seem to learn things sometimes. And it doesn't seem
Bring the place
I
down.
don't think you're alone in that, Joanna.
Yeah, Joanna, you and all of us.
I've heard of
The
people
hard
like
way.
their entire computer getting wiped out. Straight.
Like, mine, no.
but it's to show you something. It really is, you know what I mean? It's to clear some stagnant energy. So now everything that's going back in is what you need to serve you further. And that's what it was. The things that were in my home was no longer serving me. And it wasn't going to serve me to move forward to what I was, or what I want to achieve, or just see myself as. It was holding me in a picture that was no longer me. So when you want to grow up, it's like, okay.
Well, it'll be interesting to hear from you, Claudia, what perspective in our next show. We'll be back December 4th. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of perspectives have landed for you right now. I know you're in the midst of it, which is
I
unsettling.
appreciate that, Kathy and Joanna. I mean, thank you, because of course, every once in a while, we just need that third eye and that other person to remind us of the truth, right? My entire computer got wiped out and I didn't have a backup. It's the one time I have not had a backup. And for the audience, because of course my sisters here know what I've been going through over the last 2 days. And just that reminder is perfect. It's exactly what I needed to hear right now. Thank you. To remind myself that for whatever reason, this is the universe's way of helping me let go of what no longer supports me or serves me. And to allow the flow without the panic and without without it being painful, without expectations of the outcome. And that is such an important lesson, right? To allow trust and allow and don't ask how. That's my quote from
love
Birds
that.
with Lions. If you don't know
like
her,
that.
she's phenomenal. You got to meet her. But trust and allow and don't ask how.
So will you use some Feng Shui in your environment to jumpstart something for you?
You know what? Thank you. Yes, I think so. I think definitely I need to look at everything that's coming up in terms of knowledge and in terms of flow, obviously. So I'm ready to start clearing out some clutter. I'm looking at bringing my things back from Los Angeles to Miami, opening up to a new home for myself and for my son. And in this process, I really am ready to, I think, just go through a deeper cleanse and really ask myself each thing, each little thing. If you look at it individually, I'm sure you can find a use or purpose for it. But if you can look at it a little bit more detached from a kind of greater perspective, like an eagle eye, do I really need it? And does it support my highest purpose now?
Yeah.
I ask myself that. And I think that'll
And
help me.
just like you said, it's a perspective because we're at a point in time. It's like, this has been your life's work. You've got all this, courses and content and resources on this. And so we can tend to be hanging on to that, but maybe it's the kick in the butt from the universe saying, no, we're moving you on to this new identity. So as we move from one stage to the next, I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to turn to some of these concepts and look and see what corner do I need to jumpstart. Maybe I just need to put some pink flowers in the knowledge center or the prosperity center, or move my kitchen.
I wish it was that easy, right? I want to move my kitchen. But we might not be able to move those things quite yet, but we highlight the energy, right? We want to make the spaces at the end of the day is think about what makes your space enjoyable. What were you saying?
Talking to Kiefer, sorry.
Okay.
He's drinking out of the love corner of my bathroom.
I love that.
That's a great question, though. The toilet seat, is it best to put it down so that, because I think you said, don't let love get flushed down, but
Yes.
So we should have it closed, right?
Definitely. So this is one of those things that Feng Shui definitely emphasizes is notice the drains and where they are in your home. Shower drains, bathroom drains, toilet drains, right? We want to keep that toilet down so that that energy is not going down the drain. Same thing, they actually have like little plastic covers that you can put on the bathtubs or on the showers, and ways to highlight those bathrooms so that if any important energy in your home is in the bathroom, right, you maintain the chi circulating, you maintain the energy circulating, whether it's with plants or whether it's with beautiful art work that you love, whether it's candles that makes it a little more romantic.
I had heard a ribbon, like a red ribbon tied on a drain, like in a bathroom sink or something like that. Might be a way of bringing in color and pretty.
I have some questions in the chat, ladies. Would you like me to read one? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was just noticing it.
Great.
So Linda was asking, what about old memories? Holding on to memories. If I get rid of it, feel like I'm losing the memories of it. Oh, okay. So if she gets rid of something and it holds a lot of memories for her, she feels like she'll be losing the memories as well.
That makes sense.
Can you
And it's, I
speak to
think,
that?
absolutely. I think it's why a lot of us, at least, God knows, I hold on to a lot of things that I'd like to be able to let go of a little bit more. I've found ways to do it that I think are helpful. Sometimes taking a picture of it and being able to give it to somebody that will actually use it then you can tie your past and what it meant to you. You can hold on to the picture and feel the joy and the love that you are bringing, or the nurturing or the abundance that it's creating for somebody else as a new item. So that's one way to do it, for example. And then the question is, if it's something that really supports you and holds great memories, don't let it go. You don't have to, right?
Well,
Maybe you need a good wash and a good cleaning and a new location that will hold that energy and create more of those loving memories, or those fun memories, or that trip memories. So it's
or like you said, sometimes it's a memory. It might be from somebody who's deceased. And so we've got their watch or their something that isn't going to serve us. So have a conversation with that person, deceased or not, and ask them, would they like you to continue holding on to it? Or is there another way that they might recommend that it could be commemorated? So maybe you make a piece of art out of it or repurpose it in some way, but keep on to it. Or a lot of times they'll just say, get rid of it.
And another thing I was thinking of when you asked the question was, because that was a big thing for me, was pictures. We had pictures. Like now everything is digital, so it's easier to hold on to them and it not take up space. But I have bins of pictures. So what should I do with that?
I do too, Joanna. And I've found that I'm not quite ready to let go of them. I still have a few boxes of pictures that I want to put into albums. So what I started to do is I started creating scrapbooks, and I'd look at all of them, like for one event, all the pictures I had for one event, and I'd pick the top 8 pictures if I had, a roll of 24 or whatever. And I'd create a scrapbook of those pictures. So I'd keep those, I'd keep the feeling, the memories, the visuals, and then I'd let go of the rest. So I started to kind of pare down or create digital albums, if you can
Even do that.
scan these. And you can create actually beautiful little books now that you can have printed.
Right.
One other way that I found that was great to use them was I'd create calendars for my family for Christmas of the highlights of the year.
That's nice.
For
That's nice.
example. And then it became a present.
Yeah. For me, overall, since I don't like a lot of memorabilia and things like that around, I don't like to dust too many things.
Practical.
Yeah, I'm very practical. But by the same token, you can never lose the feeling that something or someone has given you. That will never go away unless you become demented or have Alzheimer's or something like that, right? But the feeling of it, that's really what sometimes I think we're afraid of losing, but we can never lose that. We always will remember how someone made us feel, or how something made us feel.
See, I think going through a divorce, that's a little different for me, because I could hold on to the raw feelings more than I can to the great memorable feelings. So the pictures to me bring me back to those memorable times, to be able to say, oh, okay, I did love that man.
There were good times.
We'll have to do a talk on Ho'oponopono. Do some forgiveness work for you.
It's raw time. It's like, I need something to hold on to remember those good times. I don't know. Yeah. But the feeling, I think, did change.
Definitely. And it's powerful, like you're saying, sometimes these things basically remind us of the good stuff, right? When our life story changed and something shifted, or we went through difficulties, we become attached to some of these things, or they help us reconnect with that good feeling. So it's not about getting rid of everything. And it's, of course, each one is very personal to our tastes. What we do want to make sure is that there is room to breathe, room to move around your things. We want to declutter. If you're going to hold on to some of them, try to keep them organized in spaces that make sense, right? And that they're not clogging the energy or the flow, or that it makes sense that it's in a cupboard, or that it makes sense that it's in a closet, but at least that you know what's in there and you can find the things, and that there's a purpose as to why you're holding on to them. Otherwise, let's start flowing a little bit more.
I think that's great advice. Just every once in a while, we have to check in and see what's really serving us and what's not. If we haven't seen something that's been, tucked away for months, years, is it really necessary to have it there just for the comfort of it? Is it there just for the comfort, or we really did forget about it? Then maybe it's time to release it and let it go.
Yeah. And that's a great technique, actually, Carol, for things that you think you want to hang on to, is put them into box and check back in 6 months. And if you haven't missed it, then it's like, okay. But I like how you said it's kind of a chance to refresh from where I am now to who I want to be next. Does it or not? Does it not serve me?
And that's even with our clothes, like just a new wardrobe, just being able to release and say, that was me 2 years ago. Why am I still holding on to this now? That's a huge one for me.
And energetically speaking, it's really wonderful what happens when we start this. We start changing the energy flow in our lives. The measure in which we give, we will receive threefold. The measure in which we put these things into use again and give them new life, it can bring back other flourishing aspects of our lives. What we want to start looking at is everything in our environment supporting us and what is not. Because sometimes we're just used to having it there in the corner, or that painting of, the great-grandfather or whatever it may be. that, or from a previous relationship, or from something that somebody gave me, but it's been sitting there, it's in the heirloom, and that clock that hasn't worked in a century.
Wait, so what about heirlooms? Like,
Yeah.
but even what about like I have my dad's ashes. So what kind of energy does that bring?
Beautiful, loving, spiritual.
Okay.
It's what you set the intention and what that means to you.
Okay.
If by looking at the container where your father's ashes are, it makes you cry every time, then I'd say let's look at how we can shift that, right? But if it's the loving memory, if it's the support, could you possibly put those ashes in the beautiful green vase that represents family and relationships in the middle quadrant of the Bhagavad, or in your home in an area that would be supported with green and that represents family and relationships?
In contrast, I've got my dead dog's ashes who passed away 10 years ago, and it's on my mantle collecting. I did dust it yesterday, but just to give it fresh attention and maybe, put his collar around it, or maybe let it go. But
what home is it in? Is it in a place that actually is supporting the love and supporting the memories? Or is it draining you somehow because it's stopping you from using that mantelpiece for family pictures?
So the key is intentions.
Yes.
The key is intentions.
Yes.
And with everything. Do we have more questions, Carol?
Yeah. So it helps to have this basic little Bhagavad map, right? To have a basic understanding of it. Take a look at it. You can find it on Google anywhere. Get some ideas. What elements represent what colors represent each thing, and then get creative. Use crystals, use plants, use candles. Look at everything you have in your home and give it a repurposing, right? Give it a dust off. Give it a little shine, and maybe this really reminds me of the best times of my travel with my family. I'm going to put this in this section of the house. And now it's going to be on the shelf instead of in the box in the garage, where it actually now gives
That's right.
power to that travel energy, gives power to that family energy.
So we empower it.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
See if there's anything else here in the comments section.
Mhm.
Nope.
So I'd love to hear from each one of you. What's one thing that you, after having this conversation, that you'd like to do in your home or in your space? Is there anything you would change?
I'm gonna go check out the collecting spot that I've got for the papers and the books.
Nice.
And I'll check out my dog's ashes.
Yeah, I just need to clear some spaces. Like Kathy was saying, like I have just papers stacked up on the shelf and old school work that I just take out of the notebooks and I stack them. But I'm really not either going to look at it again, or I could put it in a nice basket or make the area look a little prettier definitely than what's there, and just bring, a better energy to it. Because when I look at it now, it's like, oh, I got to go through all of this. So definitely let's repurpose that. So
And with the papers, beautiful little white binders with a little label that says the stuff that you really want to keep that you think you could use. Sure, God knows I
Yeah.
have a bunch of those, but then can you put them in a place, maybe in your bookshelf with knowledge, so that
Right.
you know that those are tools that you can turn back to. And then if you find that you haven't used them in a year or two, then maybe it's time to let them move on.
I've been okay.
Call that Carol.
Carol, please.
Yeah, I would like to probably lose some weight. So what can I do about that? And where could I put certain elements to foster that, and where?
Beautiful. Right in the center of your home is your
Oh, that would
physical
create
well-being.
a traffic jam for me. I don't have much room here.
So think about that center bagua, that earth square, the yellow, right?
Okay.
Is about physical health and well-being. So let's start looking at how to increase vitality and endurance. And this kind of goes, let's start grabbing a few things that we've talked about in the past, like what turns you on from our show of What Turns You On. And what are these, for example, the citrine, right? Crystals that you could use that are yellow, that make you feel good and vibrant, and maybe start using those colors in decoration for yourself, or on a shirt that is beautiful and yellow. And that will trigger and remind you, I am doing this for my well-being, for my losing, and taking, not even,
Releasing.
sorry?
I said we're going to use the word releasing.
Releasing, exactly. Thank you. I was trying to find a way to shift that. Thank you so much.
That
Joanne.
losing, when we lose things, we usually want it to come back. So you don't want that.
We will be shedding. That which we no longer need.
So you're going to release it, because that's what it is. It's an energy that we hold on to for comfort. So releasing that energy is what will happen, and the yellow will allow it. And just in Chinese medicine, the yellow earth is spleen and stomach. So the energy that you're also bringing energy to with the color yellow is your spleen and stomach. So set the intentions that your spleen and stomach are only taking what is needed to serve you.
I like that.
Love.
I like that.
And it's also that third chakra of control and power and ego. So we can then also let the yellow support what is for my highest purpose. And let go of the rest and choose to say, okay, I now support my well-being, my health. My body receives everything for its highest purpose.
And release the rest.
And release the rest. Yay!
I love it. We are at the 5 o'clock mark, 8 o'clock mark already. This went so fast.
It went fast, yes. It's
So
been such a pleasure.
Yes.
So
ahead.
Carol, I think you're leading us in our next conversation. It'll be December 4th. So a Sunday, the first and third Sunday of every month. And it is on what, owning our
December 4th.
Or 4th, is it? December?
yeah,
December
December 4th, but the topic is about owning your authority. Is that right?
It is about being your own authority.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh,
Yes,
I love
one of
these
my favorite
conversations.
topics.
So very exciting. I hope you've enjoyed all the show tonight. And we are thrilled to have you with us. And we look forward to our next show.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks for sharing. Connie.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us, Judith and Linda. We'll hopefully see you next time. Have a great, great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Love and light.